Welcome, sixth graders. I'm so glad you were able to log into Google Classroom and open the video for today. The first thing that I need you to do while watching this video is I want you and your parents to log into Remind 101. You do not need the app for this. On your phone or on your parents' phone, you're going to open the text messages and you are going to, where you would normally type someone's name for their phone number to pop up, you are going to type the phone number 81010. And after you've done that, then in the message box, you're going to type @Ray6GT. And after you send it, you're going to get a confirmation that you have been added to the class. Now, what I would like you to do in your journal, so we're going to do our first set of notes because tomorrow in class we're going to talk about exponents. You can just write that as your title. So what I write, you're going to write. That way you have all the notes necessary to be comfortable tomorrow. So a couple things I want to review with you real quick are the signs for multiplication that we use in math. So when we multiply, often you will see an X. Now you learned about the X in elementary school. I'm going to tell you that in our class we are not going to use an X for times because when we start talking about variables, X is going to represent something else. So often you will see the dot for times. This is a very good one to use. Or you're going to see parentheses for times. When we talk about a number and a letter being multiplied together, which we'll get to, you're going to see that number written next to the letter. And then you do not need a symbol because a number right next to a letter is a way to show multiplication. Other signs that we're going to talk about this year are division or divide signs. Okay, so in elementary school you learned the line with the two dots, and you will see this occasionally, however, not very much. Okay, sometimes you learned you have a number outside and then you have the house and you have the number inside. Again, sometimes. Most of the time though, in middle school, we use a fraction bar to show divide, because when we learn about fractions, we will see fractions mean divide. And you'll see that I've used the same letters here. So that number that is usually inside goes on top. We call that the numerator. And the number on the outside goes on the bottom, called the denominator. And you can remember that because D is down. So let's talk about the main stuff today. I have some definitions I would like you to write. So we have the word exponent. I'm hoping that you've heard this before, and we're going to talk about what you have and haven't heard tomorrow when you come to class. So when we talk about exponents, we can look at this big example, 6 to the 4th power, and your exponent is this little number. So our definition for exponent is going to be, it's the small number. It tells you how many times to multiply the big number. Oh, sorry. To multiply the big number. This is a number symbol, not a hashtag. And that brings me to my next definition, which is a base. So this big number is the base. And that is going to be the big number I was talking about in the exponent definition. So that is the number that gets multiplied. Now this whole entire thing is called a power. So the power, or the word power, refers to the entire expression meaning the base and exponent together. When we talk about writing exponents, 6 to the 4th power, when we have it as a base and an exponent, we call this standard form. If we want to explain what that means, we can write it in expanded form. So 6 to the 4th power means that we're going to multiply 6 by itself 4 times, where 6 is our base. And because we have to multiply it by itself 4 times, that is our exponent. And when we write it out, 6 times 6 times 6 times 6, we call this expanded form. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples. And what I want you to do on these is I want you to write them in your journal in expanded form. So if I gave you 5 to the 3rd power, what would that look like if we wrote it out in expanded form like that? Hopefully, you've written 5 times 5 times 5, and I want you to notice I used a dot for multiplying. 8 to the 2nd power, take a minute and write that out in expanded form. Hopefully you've written 8 times 8, and if I'm going too fast, feel free to pause the video so you have time to do this. We can also use what we call variables, which are letters that represent numbers. So if I said r to the 5th power, that simply means r times r times r times r times r. Well, we have r times itself 5 times. We can go the opposite way by writing in standard form. So if I gave you a number in expanded form, could you write in standard form? I got distracted there. Standard form. So if I gave you 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, well, what does that look like in the form of a base and an exponent? Well, hopefully, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 to the 4th power. If I gave you p times p times p times p times p, well, the p is the base, and we've written it 5 times, so p to the 5th power. So that's the end of the video, but before you finish, it's going to ask you a couple of questions, and I want you to answer them on the computer. And then, now that you've answered those questions, when you go back to Google Classroom, you may need to mark done on the assignment. So I would like you to answer these 2 questions on the computer. So what is 5 to the 3rd power in expanded form? And if I gave you, let's say, 4 times 4, what is this in standard form? Have a great night. I'll see you tomorrow.